to Dr Richard Newland for Leighton Aspell will be a winning ride as Pineau De Re wins the National.
And you'll see pride of place on the wall here. Is this lovely picture of Pineau De Re winning the National.
You've watched the Grand National since you were a child. You've seen all the Grand Nationals and Grand National winners.
We came here, there were 400 people waiting for us. And we had a free bar here till 1:30 in the morning. It's absolutely magical. Well, here he is, our old friend, Pineau De Re. Pineau. Look at this champion, 21 years old. My God. He looks fantastic. Pineau, welcome back to the yard. He was entered in the Goffs catalogue at Doncaster, May Sales. I always would scan that catalogue very closely, looking for opportunities, horses that I thought would be interesting. And we certainly had our eye on trying to get a Grand National horse. And actually, after we got him, my friend John Proven, we went to the races, and I said, John, I bet you I can sell you a horse in under 60 seconds. And I gave him the spiel about it, and he went, done. We shook hands on him and bought him. So very lucky to get hands on a horse like that. Not everyone would buy a 10-year-old, and I did specifically buy him for long distance races. But obviously the dream was the National. Couldn't really dream of winning the National at that stage, but he's bought to be in the National, and the whole campaign was about trying to he had to get one more good win under his belt to get up to the high enough handicap mark where we thought we'd get in the handicap and get a run. It wasn't working at first. We had the first few runs. Disappointing, was a bit strong, but he wasn't knocking the door down. He wasn't looking like he was going to win a race. It was only really when we gave him a little bit of a holiday, freshened him up, brought him back, that he absolutely bolted up at Exeter, went up 10 pounds, and then we knew he'd done what we wanted to do, which is to win the race to get into the Grand National. We weren't particularly interested in running any other staying races, at least not at that stage. First entry, first runner in it. It's a fairy tale, really, isn't it?
Everybody knows the Grand National. When you were young, you wanted to ride in it. And then as you were progressing as a jockey, you know, just to get on a horse that had ability and potential to get into the National, you know, they're very hard to come by.
Sammy Twiston was our regular jockey, and Sammy's ridden over 200 winners for me. Sammy, at the time, though, was just making a transition and was moving to join Paul Nicholls. And Paul Nicholls had Tidal Bay, who was about a third or a quarter of the price of our horse anyway. And in fairness, I think, you know, did the right thing and rode for Paul. Wretched luck for Sam, otherwise he would have been on board. But, you know, that said, Leighton had ridden 1 or 2 for me that year, and he, as I say, was top of the game, so he was a very good guy to go to. I
was sort of on Richard's sort of radar for rides, sort of around that time on Saturdays and stuff, so I text Richard, and, you know, what did I have to lose? And an hour later, Richard texts me back, says, you know, he's yours. They're all coming out for a look now. So I met Pineau in Lambourne. Richard took them down to jump some Aintree style fences on the Lambourne gallops, and myself and Wayne Hutchinson. Wayne was going to ride one for Richard in the Topham on the Thursday. Pineau was smallish, 15.3, but Wayne's was even smaller. So we'd done our cantering, both felt well, jumped some normal fences, and then came back round to jump the traditional the Aintree fences. And there was a TV crew there with Richard, just following Pineau's build-up and Richard's first run in the race, and we schooled them, and they were getting keener and faster and lower. We went up about 3 times, and me and Wayne thought, wow, we've survived that. Trotted back down to Richard, and he says, oh, can you do that again, please? Because the camera wasn't working here, he didn't get it. So these 2 boys now were well revved, and we were delighted to get out of that Lambourne morning in one piece. But there's a real edge to the whole day at Aintree, you know, even in the Wareham, there's just an edge, you know, everybody's excited, but, you know, there's a lot of adrenaline going through everybody. You know, everybody gets into the zone, and then when they changed the start time to 5:15, you know, it felt like a long day because we have a briefing at 12 p.m, you know, so lads, you're hanging around the changing room a long time, and you know, people are glad when it eventually comes. We had the fright of our lives because the morning of the race, all the Grand National horses are trotted up. I'd been staying up at Liverpool for the 3 days. Carolyn White, who was our senior groom and travelling head lass at that point, had brought the horse up. And just as I was arriving at the racetrack,
So this would probably be about midday, something like that. My phone goes. I went, everything okay? And Carolyn says, don't panic, Richard, but come quickly. Pineau's failed the trot up. And there's a concern whether he can run or not. So you could imagine how that felt. Everything is set up for our big day, blah, blah, blah. What's going to happen? So I whipped round. It turned out that the vets were a bit undecided. Then they trotted him up, but they thought one of the vets thought he'd put in a couple of lame strides. I was very keen that he ran, as you can see. Anyway, by the time I get there, there's a committee of about 6 vets all looking at him. And I said, right, they said, well, trot him up when Dr. Newland's here. We trotted him up. I said, right, trot him away. He trotted away 3 good strides away. That's great, put him in his box, thank you very much. But there was nothing wrong with him. Some of these older horses, you know, sometimes they will put in a slightly lame stride, but it's a good thing we weren't stopped from running, wasn't it?
And this time they're off, and Battle Group has not gone with them.
When I saw all 40 lining up, my confidence drained very quickly in terms of how well we do.
You know, there was 2 false starts, and they are frustrating, no matter what race it is, but especially the national. You know, trying to get 40 horses stopped and back to the start, tapes put across, and get everybody organised, facing the right direction. People are going to be out of position, too far back, too far forward. It takes a bit of organising, but Pineau was easy to manage during this whole time. He's not too strong. Some horses tear off towards the first fence and can really get into a muck sweat, but he was a real professional about it.
And the Grey Rose of the Moon is also among the leaders as they take the first fence. Twirling Magnet was a faller at the first and quite badly hampered Golan Way in the process, but the rest seem to have got over it safely.
Another horse with similar colours fell at the first, and my assistant trainer at the time and the groom at the time thought Pineau had gone at the first, and it was only about 10 fences later they realised he's still going.
Tidal Bay, big, powerful, strong horse. On the run to the second last, we come back onto the course proper. Yeah, he came between myself and Adam Wedge, and he was a big boy, and he jumped left and T-boned Pineau De Re.
As they cross over that fence, Pineau De Re made a very bad mistake and badly hampered 1 in a million, but both of them have survived.
It took a bit out of him, took a bit of sitting, so I was glad then once he got over the last fence, I think Tidal Bay then headed off on his own way, so after that then everything was pretty straightforward.
Wayward Prince is the last one going as they jump Valentine's.
From Valentine's there, I just had a lovely position just outside Rocky Creek and a few others. Noel Feely was in front, controlling the race, jumping really well. And then I was just able to just tag onto Rocky Creek, going back over the Melling Road, and I thought, I've got a real chance of being placed in this national. You still daren't think about winning it.
As they move on towards the neck.
Every fence on the second circuit we're going, oh, another one gone, another one gone. Then there was a moment about 4 out where he just looked to be running away with Leighton. I thought, my God, he's going well.
They move on now towards the third last.
And there was this moment, 3 out. John and I looked at each other. I can visualise the moment. Everyone else was looking at the action down the track, and we turned around and looked at each other and said, effectively saying, is this really happening? Can I believe what's going to happen?
As they race on now towards the 30th and final fence in the Crabbies Grand National, and it's Pineau De Re who comes to the final fence with Leighton Aspell. They have a lead of 3 lengths over Balthazar.
Once we got back towards the second last, I just eased out to jump the middle. I wanted to aim for the middle and then the middle of the last to try to get as straight a line as possible to the elbow. I just got 2 really good jumps out of Pineau at the last 2 fences, and he really quickened away from the last, towards the elbow.
As they race now on towards the elbow, it's Pineau De Re who is now clearing away. He's out in front by 6 lengths as he goes around the elbow. You're
running into a wall of sound with the crowd and the noise, and you're just hoping that it's not something coming late and fast and mug you.
As Pineau De Re wins the national.
Everybody was just on cloud 9 and screaming and shouting. It was frenzy.
After, you'd appreciate, when he won the race, my life just for a few minutes went absolutely mad, and there were microphones in front of me and we're hugging and we're doing this and being into it, and suddenly I'm being called to the stage called to the podium to collect the trainer's prize. I said, Richard, it's time to go up, and the lads were still watching around the parade ring, and obviously been a big part of it. We'd all been giving each other hugs, etc. And I thought, well, I better do something. to going up. It's a bit late for the slide and I didn't fancy taking the shirt off. So I started on the podium waving around like Frank Lampard, only to look on my right shoulder, saw somebody rather patiently waiting to give me the trophy, which was Princess Anne. And I felt, Your Highness, I do apologise, but she was very good about it.
Winning the Grand National definitely changed my life. Yeah, you know, it puts you onto a bigger stage. It was how you were introduced, you know, when you're at the races, when you were going to the start, you know, number 7, ridden by this year's Grand National winning jockey.
I didn't grow up in a horsey family. I wouldn't have watched any other horse race. I probably watched one horse race a year and it would have been the Grand National. And that's in 1970 or, you know, in the early days. It's always been the race that makes jump racing special, that transcends other races.
The Grand National should be on every sports fan's bucket list, you know, to just savour and feel the experience of Aintree on that Saturday.